Just die, I don't give a shit. Those words hit me harder than any slap. My daughter's voice sliced through the air, cold and sharp, like broken glass in my chest. She wasn't crying, she wasn't yelling, she was calm, too calm. She stood there, arms crossed, standing in the doorway of the house I paid for. The house I emptied my savings to keep from foreclosure. The house where I thought I'd grow old with her by my side. Now she was telling me to leave and die. I couldn't speak. My mouth was dry like the words had been stolen from me. "Mum, you're not even on the lease," she added, her eyes narrowing. "So don't make this harder. Just leave." And then she slammed the door behind me. No shoes, no bag. Just my phone in my hand and my body trembling on the front porch. Before I dive in, feel free to let me know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy the story, a like and subscribe would mean a lot. I stood there, frozen. The wind howled through my cardigan, and the world felt like it had tilted off its axis. I had just been kicked out by my own daughter, and not just kicked out, thrown out like garbage, like my existence no longer mattered. But this wasn't how things were supposed to go. 3 months ago, she had called me crying. "Mum, they're going to take the house," she sobbed. "Jason maxed out our credit cards. We're behind on the mortgage. If I lose this place, I'll lose everything." And like any mother would, I stepped in. I sold my car. I cashed in my emergency retirement. I wired the exact amount, down to the cent, to the bank so the foreclosure would be halted. $142,000. My life savings. Everything I had built after Dad died. I didn't ask for thanks. I didn't ask for payback. All I asked was, "Can I stay with you while I figure things out?" She said yes. At least, that's what she said at first. But things started changing fast. At first it was the cold silences, the forced smiles, the way her husband Jason never looked me in the eye. I started noticing little things, missing leftovers, laundry shoved in trash bags, my bedroom door accidentally being locked while I was inside. Then came the comments. "When are you getting your own place?" This was supposed to be temporary, right? Jason and I need space. Each one like a paper cut. Small, but adding up. And then came today, when she stood in the hallway, blocked the door, and whispered those words with venom. "Just die. I don't give a shit." I wandered into the night like a ghost. I didn't cry. Not yet. Not until I reached the park 2 blocks down and sat on the cold bench with the flickering lamp above. Then the tears came like a flood I couldn't stop. Had I failed as a mother? Had all my sacrifices been for nothing? But then, my phone buzzed. A notification from the bank. Transfer confirmed $142,000 the mortgage funds had cleared, and suddenly something shifted inside me. I opened my bank app. I looked at the wire instructions, and I remembered something she had no idea about. The account was still in my name. I wasn't just a helper. I still owned the house. Jason's voice echoed through the night like poison wrapped in silk. "She's broke now," he hissed. "Just keep crying until she opens the damn door. She'll cave eventually." I froze behind the curtain. My breath caught in my throat. So this wasn't just anger, this was a setup. He knew. He knew everything. He knew I was listening. Or maybe he didn't. But what he didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that I had already moved money, power, and law while they were too busy laughing behind my back. My hand tightened on the doorknob. My daughter sniffled outside, tapping the wood with her nails. "Mum, please. I didn't mean it. I was just mad. Jason didn't mean anything either. We were stressed. You understand, right?" She switched tones like flipping a switch. "Remember when I was 10 and I broke your necklace? You forgave me then. You always forgive me." A part of me almost did. Almost. But then I heard Jason again walking back toward the car. He muttered louder this time, careless and irritated. "I swear, if that old woman doesn't open the door, we're screwed. We can't afford a hotel and my mom sure as hell isn't taking us back." That was it. I stepped away from the window and went into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of cold water, sat at the table, and stared at the reflection in the glass. The woman looking back wasn't weak anymore. She was calculating, calm, done being used. Earlier that morning, I had met with Susan Delgado, the lawyer I'd called the night before. She wore thin glasses and a sharp expression, her office spotless and serious. The kind of woman who didn't blink when I laid out the whole thing. "You're the sole owner of the property," she confirmed, tapping her pen on the deed. "Your daughter never filed the paperwork to assume ownership, and since you used your account to pay the mortgage and they never signed a rental agreement, they were essentially squatters." "Squatters?" I whispered. Susan nodded. "Legally, yes, and you've just exercised your right to evict them under property protection. Everything you did was clean, cold maybe, but legal." She leaned in. "And frankly, long overdue." By the time I left her office, my heart was pounding with a mix of guilt and power. I had never imagined I'd evict my own child, but I also never imagined she'd tell me to die. I didn't answer the door that night. Eventually they left. The porch light flickered off as their figures disappeared down the driveway. The silence returned, but something inside me didn't settle. This wasn't over, and I knew it. The next morning I stepped outside early, still in my robe, and found something under the welcome mat. An envelope. No name, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting, her handwriting. Inside was a folded letter, and as I opened it, my fingers trembled. "Mum, you didn't have to do this. I said awful things. I was angry. Jason was pressuring me. We're not okay. We haven't been for a long time. I just wanted to feel like I had control over something. And when you moved in, I felt like I lost control again. But I didn't mean it. Not really. I know I said just die, but I was scared. Scared that I'd never live up to you. Scared that you'd judge me, that Jason would leave if I didn't push back. I messed everything up. Please talk to me. Love, Claire." I sat on the steps for a long time holding that letter, letting the words wash over me. It sounded real. But then I remembered Jason's voice. "She's broke now. Just cry until she opens the door." I knew my daughter. I raised her better than this. But somehow she had fallen under the grip of a man who knew exactly how to pull strings. Still, I needed answers. I pulled out my phone and made one call. "Detective Monroe's desk." "Hi, this is Evelyn Moore. I'd like to speak to him about a financial matter involving my daughter and her husband." By noon, I was seated in a small grey room at the downtown precinct. Detective Monroe was an older man with soft eyes and a deep frown line. "You suspect fraud?" he asked. I told him everything. The mortgage, the eviction, the things Jason had said, and most importantly, the accounts. Because while I had been going through old bank statements, something jumped out. Jason had opened a credit line using my daughter's maiden name. It was maxed out. Over $18,000 in online gambling, travel and luxury items, all billed to the same house I just reclaimed. I think he's been manipulating her, using her name, maybe even forging signatures. Detective Monroe nodded slowly, jotting down notes. "You did the right thing reporting this. I'll run the name. But Evelyn," he paused, "if this turns criminal, you might be asked to testify." I stared at the wall for a moment, then nodded. "If it protects her, I will." That evening my phone buzzed again. Not from Claire, from a number I didn't know. I picked up slowly. "Hello," a voice answered, soft but trembling. "Is this Mrs. Evelyn Moore?" "Yes." "This is Deborah. I work at Larkwood Storage. Your daughter Claire listed you as a backup contact." I stood up. "What happened?" "She came in this morning, tried to empty her unit. But there was a fight. A man was screaming at her in the parking lot. Our staff had to separate them. She left crying." My stomach dropped. Was it Jason? I don't know, but she looked scared. Just thought you should know. I ended the call and stared at the screen. I hadn't heard Claire cry in years, not since she was a teenager. I opened our old photo album, the one I had tucked away when she got married. There she was, 8 years old, holding a paintbrush with her cheeks covered in purple smudges. 16, holding her acceptance letter. 25 in her wedding gown, hugging Jason like the world was perfect. And now? Now she was sleeping in a car or a motel, while I sat in a guest house 3 blocks away. I turned off the album and picked up my keys. I found her sitting on the swing set at the park, the same one where I had cried days earlier. She looked up when she saw me, didn't move, didn't run, just stared with swollen eyes and dirt on her jeans. I sat beside her. For a long time we said nothing. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom." I didn't respond, because I didn't know if I could believe it. "You were right," she added, "about everything. Jason, he's not who I thought he was. He's been lying about money, about me, about everything." She looked down at her hands. "I let him isolate me from you, from everyone. I was scared, and I was stupid." I finally spoke. "You kicked me out, Claire." She winced. "I know. You told me to die." "I didn't mean it," she whispered. I turned to face her fully, and for the first time in years I saw her, really saw her. Not the wife, not the angry daughter, not the girl behind Jason's shadow. I saw my Claire, the girl who used to draw superheroes on the back of her math homework, the girl who stayed up all night with me watching meteor showers, the girl I had raised alone after her father died. But just as I opened my mouth to speak, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, froze. Then she showed me the screen. It was Jason. "If I don't have the house back by Friday, you'll regret it. You don't know what I still have." My heart dropped. "Block him," I said. "I can't." "Yes," I said firmly. "You can." She started to cry. But what she didn't know, what I hadn't told her yet, was that I had already shared those screenshots with Detective Monroe, and that Jason had a warrant pending. But just as I reached out to hug her, a black car pulled up on the curb fast. The window rolled down. Jason was inside, and what he did next made my blood run cold. He held up something shiny, something familiar, my old checkbook. He had stolen it, and he smiled. "Miss me?" Jason's voice curled through the open window like smoke. "Miss me?" He grinned like it was a game. My checkbook dangled from his fingers, fluttering in the breeze. Pages already flipped, creased. I didn't need to ask to know he'd been writing checks, forging my signature again and again. Claire gasped beside me. "Jason, what are you doing here?" But Jason ignored her. He was looking right at me. "You know, Evelyn," he said smoothly, "it's funny how fast your luck changes. One day you're writing checks to save your sweet daughter's home, and the next day you're out here playing the victim." I stood up slowly, pushing Claire behind me. "Get out of the car." Jason laughed. "Oh, I don't think so. I just came to deliver a message. This..." He waved the checkbook again. "This is leverage. You make one more move against us, and I'll start sending little gifts to your favorite charities. Maybe even that nursing home you volunteer at. Let's see how they feel about bounce checks." Claire screamed, "What are you even talking about?" Jason pointed at her with his free hand. "Don't act dumb. You let your mummy ruin everything. Now she's going to fix it." The anger in me swelled into something sharp. For years I had held my tongue. I had allowed the lies, the excuses, the manipulation, all for Claire's sake. But this man, this parasite, had no bottom. He was a black hole sucking everything good from her life. I took a step forward. "That checkbook was in my private drawer. You broke into my house to take it." Jason smiled. "You mean the house you technically just evicted us from? Grey area, sweetheart. And if you want it back, well, you know what to do." He revved the engine and the tyres squealed as he sped off, disappearing down the block. Claire was shaking. I turned to her. Go home. But, go. I need to handle this. She hesitated, then finally nodded, wiped her eyes, and walked back toward the guest house. Her figure was small, shrinking with every step, and I knew this wasn't just about property anymore. This was war. The next morning, I was already at the police station when Detective Monroe walked in. His shirt was wrinkled, tie half straightened, coffee in hand. He blinked when he saw me. "Evelyn, what's wrong?" "He has my checkbook," I said calmly. "He waved it in my face last night and made threats. He's forging my signature." Monroe didn't hesitate. He motioned for me to follow him into a side room. As I sat down, he opened his laptop. I already started pulling Jason's records. He's got more than a few flags, 2 past fraud investigations, both dropped when the victims didn't want to press charges. My stomach twisted. He picks people who won't fight back. Exactly. I pulled a flash drive from my purse and handed it over. Monroe raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" "Every bank alert, every fake charge. I stayed up all night. I even found scans of 2 checks with my forged signature. One sent to a luxury car dealer 2 towns over." Monroe plugged it in. His face darkened as the data loaded. "You did your homework." "I'm done being quiet," I said. Monroe looked me in the eyes. "We'll move fast. But Evelyn, be careful. Guys like him, when the walls start closing in, they snap." That afternoon, I got a call from Susan Delgado. "I have something you need to see," she said. "Come by now." I drove across town and entered her office, my nerves tight like wires. She slid a stack of papers across the table. "It's worse than we thought. Jason tried to file a claim yesterday, stating that you gifted him the house and property. He attached forged documents, including one claiming you were mentally unfit to manage your finances." I stared at her. "He's trying to declare me incompetent?" Susan nodded grimly. "The good news is it won't hold. The documents are laughably fake, but the fact he tried tells us something. He's desperate." "Exactly, and desperate people are unpredictable." I closed the folder slowly. "What do I do?" Susan looked me dead in the eye. "You go silent. Let him think he's winning. Meanwhile, I'll file a motion for full legal protection over your estate. You're the victim here, Evelyn. We're going to prove that." That night, Claire and I sat together on the porch watching the sun dip below the trees. "I feel like I'm waking up from a coma," she said softly. "For years I made excuses. He was always under pressure or just tired. He said I was stupid, forgetful, too emotional. I believed him." I reached for her hand. "He wanted you to." She wiped a tear. "What do we do now?" I exhaled slowly. "We wait. Let the lawyers and police do their job." But even as I said it, I knew that wasn't enough. Jason didn't follow rules. He didn't fear consequences. And I could feel him, like a storm circling in the distance. At midnight, my phone buzzed again. Blocked number. I answered, heart already pounding. A low voice whispered, "You think this is over. You have no idea who you're dealing with." Click. The call ended. My hands shook, but I didn't cry. I walked to my bedroom, opened the safe, and pulled out something I hadn't touched in 10 years. The binder with my late husband's estate records. Jason thought I was some fragile old woman with a pension and a paid-off house. He had no idea about the trust fund, the stocks, the lawyer I still had on retainer from 20 years ago. And most of all, he had no idea about the private investigator I had just hired. 3 days later, I sat across from a man in a grey jacket and dark eyes. He slid a flash drive across the table at the diner. "Jason Montgomery," he said. "Real name, Thomas Blake. Used a fake identity to marry your daughter. Filed bankruptcy under 4 aliases. Evicted from 3 apartments. He's been doing this a long time." I opened the laptop and clicked the first file. It was a video. Jason, or Thomas, standing in front of a different woman's house, screaming, holding a tire iron. The woman sobbed inside, her phone shaking as she filmed from the window. Police never found him, the investigator said. But I did. He fled the state, changed his name, started again. My blood ran cold. Can we use this? I asked. Oh, we'll do more than use it, he replied. We'll bury him with it. The trap was set. Susan filed an emergency injunction, freezing all assets in Jason's name. Monroe launched a formal fraud investigation with the DA's office. And I waited. 3 days of silence. Then one evening, the front gate rattled. Claire opened it, and Jason stood there, soaking wet, holding flowers. I'm sorry, he said with fake charm. I messed up. I just want to come home. Claire stood frozen. I stepped into the doorway. She's not coming with you. Jason's eyes narrowed. Stay out of this, Evelyn. Or what? I asked calmly. You'll regret it. I smiled coldly. You mean like the way you regretted scamming that woman in Denver? His face went white. Yeah, I said, stepping forward. We know everything. Your real name, your bankruptcy, the fake IDs. You're done. Jason's jaw clenched. You think you can take me down? Claire stepped beside me, her voice steady. We're not thinking, she said. We know. Jason took one step back, then another. He dropped the flowers and ran. 2 hours later, he was in handcuffs. Claire and I watched from the window as the red and blue lights flashed across the lawn, but just as the squad car pulled away, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A voice whispered, You took Jason down, but he wasn't working alone. The voice on the phone sent a chill straight through my spine. Jason wasn't working alone. I froze in place. Claire was still standing by the window, her arms crossed tightly across her chest, eyes fixed on the flashing police lights outside. Who is this? I whispered. Silence. Then a quiet breath. You should have stayed quiet, Evelyn. Now we're all watching. The line went dead. I slowly lowered the phone, my hand trembling. I turned back to Claire. Get away from the window, I said quietly. She blinked, confused, then looked at me. Mum? Now. She moved away. I shut the blinds. My heart was hammering. The night felt different now, darker, tighter, like something was shifting in the shadows. The police had Jason. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. It never is it? I didn't sleep that night. Every sound made me flinch. Every shadow on the wall looked like someone watching. At 3:18 a.m., I went back to the safe, pulled out every document I had, printed the private investigator's full report, backed up everything to 3 different hard drives and hid them in separate places, the kitchen cabinet, the attic vent, and one mailed anonymously to Susan Delgado. I wasn't taking chances. By morning, my stomach was in knots. Claire came into the kitchen looking pale and stiff. She held up her phone. Mum, you need to see this. I took the phone. A video was playing. A car, my car, parked outside the county courthouse. But the license plate was spray-painted. My windows were smashed. The caption read, Better check your insurance, Grandma. My blood ran cold. I didn't post that. It was sent to Claire from a burner account. Then another message popped up on her phone. Cute house. Hope it's still standing tomorrow. This wasn't Jason. He was already in custody. Someone else was picking up where he left off. Someone angry and desperate. Claire and I drove straight to the police station. Detective Monroe looked even more tired than usual. We've got Jason in a holding cell. He hasn't made bail, but he's been smirking all morning, like he knows something's coming. He does, I said. I showed him the messages, the video, the threats. Monroe didn't flinch. You're being hunted now. They're trying to scare you into pulling back. We won't, Claire said firmly. Monroe gave a half smile. Good, because we're about to give them something to really panic about. He pulled out a file. Jason's phone was seized. We recovered a contact list, some encrypted messages. He slid a photo across the table. Recognize her? My stomach dropped. It was a woman, blonde, stylish, smiling. Her name's Lila Ford. She runs an event planning company downtown, but guess what? That business doesn't exist. It's a shell. For what? I asked. Monroe's voice dropped. For a fraud ring. Jason was part of something bigger. They prey on elderly homeowners, especially women. Fake marriages, fake bankruptcies, coercion, forgery. Lila is the spider at the center of the web, and now she's angry because you just snapped the web. I leaned back in my chair. So what now? Monroe stared at me hard. Now. We bait her. Claire's jaw dropped. What? No, absolutely not. But I was already nodding slowly. How do we do it? Monroe leaned forward. Lila thinks you're scared. Good. We use that. We leak false documents. Make it look like you're trying to transfer your assets to Claire in a panic. She'll send someone to intercept the process. That's when we grab her. It was risky. Dangerous. But I had come too far to be scared now. We spent the next 48 hours setting the trap. A fake bank meeting. Falsified wire transfers. A printed trail of fabricated paperwork. Everything meticulously designed to make me look vulnerable, like I was preparing to give Claire full access to my trust fund. We even used a real office, loaned to us by Susan's firm. By Friday morning, everything was in place. I sat in the plush chair by the desk, holding a decoy folder with trust transfer, urgent in bold across the top. Claire waited outside in the car, wired and watching through a live stream on her tablet. Monroe's team hid in the next room. And then she arrived. Lila Ford was colder than her photos. Her hair was slicked into a bun so tight it looked like it might snap. Her eyes scanned everything like a hawk. "Evelyn Moore?" she asked sweetly. I stood and smiled. "Yes. Thank you for coming." "Of course," she said. "When I heard you were in trouble, I knew I had to come. Jason, he made mistakes, we all did, but we can fix this." She sat across from me and smiled. "I just need you to sign one last form. It'll protect your assets and get everything back in your control." She slid a piece of paper across the table. I picked it up slowly. It was another forgery. A clever one. If I signed it, I would legally hand over 80% of my estate to her company, LFS Holdings. I looked up at her. She smiled wider. "We're friends, aren't we?" I returned the smile. "Friends don't forge documents." The room exploded. Officers swarmed in, guns drawn. Lila's face twisted in shock and rage as they forced her to the ground. Claire rushed in through the back. It was over, or so I thought. But just as Lila was being dragged away, she looked me dead in the eyes and hissed, "You think I'm the only one? You have no idea what you've started." That night, Monroe called me again. "Thought you should know. The feds are opening a full case. Your file's the key to bringing the whole ring down." I nodded, exhausted. Finally, peace. But then... The next morning, Claire opened the mailbox. There was no address on the envelope. Just one sheet of paper inside. A photograph. Of Claire, sleeping, in her room, taken from inside the house. The photo was grainy but unmistakable. Claire asleep in her bed, her head resting on the pillow, eyes closed, her phone charging on the nightstand. The angle of the photo told the real story. It was taken from inside the house. Not through a window, not from a camera. From inside. My blood ran cold. Claire stared at it like she didn't believe it was real. "Mom," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Someone's been inside." I didn't hesitate. I grabbed the envelope and called Detective Monroe immediately. "It's urgent," I said. "Someone broke in. They left a photo in the mailbox. It was taken inside our home." Claire stood frozen in the hallway while I moved through every room in the house, checking locks, closets, drawers. Nothing was stolen, nothing disturbed. That only made it worse. Whoever had been inside wasn't looking for money. They were sending a message. Monroe arrived within 20 minutes. 2 officers followed him, immediately securing the house. It's a warning, he said after examining the photo. Lila's arrest rattled someone. Maybe her second-in-command. Maybe someone else tied to the ring. Either way, this confirms what she said. There's more of them. How did they get in? Claire asked, her voice cracking. Monroe pointed to the kitchen window. The lock had been silently forced open. No glass broken, no damage. Professional. They didn't take anything, I said. No, he replied. They wanted you to know they could. I looked down at the photo again, my daughter's peaceful face, and suddenly I was back to square one, a different enemy, same danger. Monroe placed us under temporary police protection. For the next 72 hours, 2 plainclothes officers rotated shifts outside our house. Claire and I were told to stay inside. No calls, no unverified visitors. I watched her during those days, sitting by the window clutching the blanket her father gave her when she was 13. She had been through hell, but something in her had changed. She wasn't breaking anymore. She was sharpening. The daughter who once told me to just die was gone, replaced by someone who finally understood where her true strength came from. On the 4th day, Monroe returned with news. We found a link, he said. The man who took that photo goes by Victor Sloan. He's been connected to 3 other fraud cases tied to Lila's network. We have a general location but not an exact address. I stood. What do we do? We wait for him to slip up, he said. He's arrogant. He'll try to push again, and when he does, we'll be ready. But I was tired of waiting. I was tired of being hunted. So I did something no one expected. I invited him to come to me. I logged into an old email Jason had once set up for Claire during their early marriage. The password was still her birthday. He was never that smart. I composed a message. Subject, let's talk. Jason's gone. Lila's in jail. You need a new way out. You don't have to end up like them. Meet me at the cabin. Just you and me. 1 offer, 1 shot. Come alone. I hit send. Claire stormed into the room moments later. Are you insane? What are you doing? I'm ending this, I said. On our terms. The cabin was my father's old property up in Pine Hill, abandoned since the pandemic. No neighbours, no cameras, just pine trees and silence. Claire insisted on coming. I refused, but she didn't listen. Monroe wired me with audio and sent backup to wait a mile away. Say the word orchid and we come in, he said. Got it? The night was quiet when I arrived. Fog rolled over the ground like a ghost's breath. I stepped inside and waited. 10 minutes, 20. Then, footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. The door creaked open and there he was. Victor Sloan, tall, scar on his cheek. His eyes were cold and grey like metal. You're braver than I expected, he said. Or more foolish. I smiled politely. You came. That's what matters. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. So what's this offer? Walk away, I said. Forget my name. Forget Claire. Disappear. You do that, and this file... I held up a flash drive. Never sees daylight. And if I don't? Then you end up like Lila. He chuckled. You think you have leverage over me? No, I said. I know I do. What makes you so confident? Because the flash drive is a decoy, I said. The real one's already been delivered to federal agents, the same agents waiting for your name to pop up. He stiffened. For a second, just a flicker of panic crossed his face. You're bluffing. Say orchid, I whispered. He blinked. What? I said, orchid. The door burst open. Officers flooded in. Victor reached for something in his jacket, but Monroe tackled him hard. They cuffed him in seconds. It was done. Finally. Really done. 2 weeks later, I sat with Claire in the backyard. The sun was warm on our faces. She was holding a mug of tea, eyes half closed. I still can't believe it, she said. All of it. Jason, Lila, Victor. It's over, I said. We're safe. No, she replied. We're stronger. She turned to me, her eyes brimming. I'm sorry, Mum, for everything. For the words I said, for not seeing what was happening, for— Stop, I said, placing my hand over hers. We've both made mistakes. What matters is, you came back. I don't deserve your forgiveness. You earned it. That night I opened my bank account. The mortgage was paid, the trust was untouched, and I had full control again. But more than that, I had my daughter back. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. Not anymore. Because in the end, the ones who try to break you forget one thing. You don't get to burn someone who already walked through fire.